What's up guys, welcome to this review of Shazam. This is a adaptation of Shazam, Once Upon a Time called Captain Marvel, and it stars a guy called Billy Batson, who's a teenager who's been living from foster home to foster home because his mother vanished or abandoned him. We don't really know at first, so he's on the lookout for her, but then along the way there's this wizard called Shazam who offers him his powers in order to battle the 7 deadly sins, and that's kind of where things kick off. It's a comic book adaptation, like I said, it's a superhero film, DC Universe, so have your expectations, yeah? This is actually one of the best DC Universe films, if not the best DC Universe film. I'm debating whether or not it's as good as or better than Wonder Woman. The problem with Wonder Woman, of course, is the final 20 minutes or so really aren't good. Whereas this is consistently good throughout. It's just not great, I don't think. So yeah, I like this film. It's a good film. It's a good superhero film, but it is pretty formulaic. It's sticking to a age-old superhero formula. Origin story. Here's who it is. Gets the powers. Discovers things about himself. Saves the day. Very typical superhero genre film formula, and that's probably the biggest negative I've got about it. It's not that it's bad, but you kind of know where it's going to go throughout its run. But the film is funny, it is action-packed, it is enjoyable, it is exciting. It's a really well-done superhero movie. I don't know where it would rank in comparison to some Marvel movies. I haven't really thought about it, but it's a good film. And because it sticks to the age-old superhero formula so much, it does mean there's not much here that's going to be all that surprising or original in terms of storytelling. There are some great character moments in there. Like I said, a lot of good comedy in there. Zachary Levi, of course, has a really good comedic past with things like Chuck. So whenever he's on screen, there's just a brightness brought into things. He's so energetic, and clearly everyone in this film is having the ball of a time. They're clearly enjoying themselves, and it shows. I also think that 2 hours, 11 minutes, I think it was. The film's a little on the long side. There is some stuff that could have been trimmed down here or there, and it could have been less than 2 hours, I think. But yeah, a good film overall. And again, sticking to the superhero formula, it does mean that the finale kind of falls into the same traps of past superhero films, where it's oh, here's a superhero, oh, here's the supervillain, who's essentially just a bad version of the superhero. Let them fight, see who wins, and you obviously know who's going to win. So that's a bit disappointing that it does turn into that towards the end. There is a twist here or there, which I'll get into in spoilers later on, but yeah, the problem with the film is that it is so just a typical superhero film, but it's a really well done one. So to talk about the cast and the characters, I've already talked about Zachary Levi. He's great, he's perfect for this role. He was born to play a role like this. And as I said before, I've been a fan of his since his days in Chuck. He's also in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel now. He's a good actor. He showed up in the 4 movies. So it's great to see him finally get a big blockbuster leading performance. Although it should be noted, is he kind of the lead performer? He's certainly a joint lead performer here, because Shazam is essentially a kid who, when he sees Shazam, becomes the superhero character. So it's kind of a joint lead performance. Billy Batson is just as good as Zachary Levi. If they didn't have any chemistry together, if they didn't perform as essentially the same character, it wouldn't work. So the fact that they do work together so well is really good. And all the other cast members as well are great as well. I even like the villain, Mark Strong. I think he's a good actor. They do a good job of his origins, setting him up, making him sympathetic and relatable, and the problem is, after that, they just kind of right, this is his backstory, that's his origins, now he's just a bad guy. And the rest of the film, he is a bit one-note, which is disappointing. And yeah, it doesn't give Mark Strong all that much to do, all that much to chew on. But yeah, that is disappointing. But again, his backstory is really good and interesting. And of course, there's a lot of child actors in here. A lot of the main characters are children, and they're good. One of the problems you can have when casting for films and TV shows is that some children simply can't act very well. Here, they seem to have found a good group of kids who can act, and they're all relatable, they're all likable, they're all charming in their own ways. They've all got their little quirks, and yeah, no complaints about any of the child acting in here. And I know some of them are a little on the older side, they're probably not actually acting their age as well. So yeah, there's that to take into account. One of the most interesting things in here is that most of these superhero films have like a romantic story or a romantic arc in here. There are hints at a romantic storyline being established between Billy and one of his foster kid sister characters. So, but then nothing actually happens from it. There isn't a romantic storyline going through here. This is kind of like spoilers. I do apologize for that, but yeah, it's interesting how they didn't do that. That's the one way in which I think it really broke with the formula, and I like that. Of course, it might be just setting things up for later sequels down the road, who knows. And yeah, I liked how it didn't stick to that quite so much, as you would expect it to. So to talk about the production, things behind the scenes and so on, this is a brighter movie than past DC movies, maybe with the exception of Aquaman, and it still manages to maintain that look and feel of like the past ones. Is still very much in the DC universe world. There are little elements of the cinematography and the colours that are alluding to the Zack Snyder past. So the bright colours do lighten things up. It sets the mood and tone perfectly well that this is a more fun and entertaining and enjoyable movie than the past ones. But there is like a serious element to it in there as well. So it does a good job of setting that up. The soundtrack and the score is really good as well. Again, it does a good job setting the mood and the tone. And when you've got a film that's both dramatic and funny and entertaining, it's really tough to get that balance right. And the soundtrack and the score does a good job of mixing that up with using the more dramatic elements well, and then seamlessly feeding into when it's a bit more lighthearted. So really well done that way on. But like I said, it is a little on the long side. I do think it could have been less than 2 hours. There are little bits here and there which could have been trimmed out or taken out altogether. But I also think the film is well directed. It's well shot, well edited, well paced, although it is on the long side. And there are a lot of just feel-good moments in there. Some like iconic comic book superhero elements which they've thrown in there to make it stand out as more than just a teenager becoming a superhero kind of film. So Shazam, in a nutshell, I liked it a lot. It's a good superhero movie, and it's kind of where the DC universe needs to be heading into more. As a film, I think it's probably the most well-made of DC's films, to be honest. I said earlier I was debating whether or not it's as good as or better than Wonder Woman. I'm not sure. I did really like Wonder Woman up until the last 20 minutes. So yeah, and Aquaman I thought was just a ball of a time. It was really entertaining, really fun. So yeah, this is one of the better ones. Hopefully we'll get more films like this in the DC universe as we move forward. If you've liked this review, subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more content I can make, the better content I can make. So even if you're not planning on watching any of my content again, just click subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. And give me a thumbs up if you want. Leave a comment and feedback down below. Let me know what you thought of Shazam. And of course you can go to Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at _Grant Burton if you want. Also, if you want, you can go to twitch.tv/the_Grant Burton if you want to see me play some video games. I'm going to do more streaming in the future. So, yeah, just if you're interested. But please subscribe, that's the most important thing. I'm now going to go into spoilers. If you haven't seen Shazam, go watch Shazam, come back, watch the rest of this, because you don't want to be spoiled. And until then, thanks for watching so far. But now, you've been warned, full spoilers. So, there's no hint at Black Adam in this movie. Black Adam is Shazam's biggest, possibly best villain. I'm not huge on Shazam, but there are probably some Easter eggs in there about Black Adam. I don't know. Big Shazam fans might have been able to scour this movie and find some of them a lot. But it's interesting how they didn't set up Black Adam at all. They didn't hint at him or anything, at least to my knowledge. We know that Dwayne Johnson is playing Black Adam. So we know that he's also getting a standalone movie apparently. So yeah. When are we going to get that? Is it going to be in the sequel? Is it going to be further down the road? Is this standalone Black Adam movie going to actually happen? Will it feature Shazam? I don't know. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And speaking of other characters, Superman shows up right at the end. Of course, we don't see his face. It's not Henry Cavill. Is this confirming that Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore? I don't know. It's all a bit murky on that front. Henry Cavill has suggested and hinted that he's not Superman anymore, but there's been no official confirmation as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, maybe this is suggesting that, in fact, he's gone. So, one of the running gags throughout the film is that the name Shazam is a little on the ridiculous side. I liked how they played that for laughs. I thought that was pretty good, pretty funny. And of course, if they didn't, it would be a little, yeah. They needed to acknowledge the fact that Shazam's name is a little on the silly side. And speaking of his name, no mention at all of Captain Marvel. I understand why, of course, because Captain Marvel is a Marvel character, but here's a little trivia for you. Captain Marvel was actually the original name of Shazam until there was a whole hullabaloo about it, and then DC got rid of Shazam, or then Captain Marvel, and then brought him back later on. But at that point, Captain Marvel in Marvel's side had already been invented, so they couldn't use Captain Marvel's name. But yeah, I thought there would have been some sort of reference or allusion to Captain Marvel throughout the film. Again, bigger Captain Marvel or Shazam fans might have spotted it than I, so it's not necessarily not there, it's just something I didn't notice. But yeah, it would have been nice to have a more overt reference to Captain Marvel in there, I thought. But I understand why it's not. So one of the things I thought was really cool and interesting is at the end, all the kids get the powers of Shazam. And really cool, it made the ending way better than it otherwise would have been. It went from being just a typical superhero versus supervillain thing, although that's still kind of at its crux what it is, to just adding a little element of fun and humour in there. So I liked that, but I hope that they don't rely on that in the sequels. I hope that it's not a family of superheroes in here, because at the end of the day, I watched this film because of Shazam, because of Zachary Levi. He's the hero. If all of a sudden it's him and these other heroes, then it makes him less special and less interesting, in my opinion. So they can't keep relying on that. But here's the thing. At the end of the film, I believe they still all have these powers. So I think that is what they're going to do. And that's disappointing, I think. So hopefully they can get the balance right there, because at the end of the day, Shazam is the superhero here. He is the main attraction, not these others around him. And of course that could change as time goes on, but yeah, I want it to be Shazam. And that's all I got to say about Shazam. I liked it. It's a good film. One of the best DC movie films. So again, if you've liked this, subscribe, please. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, so on. Yada yada yada. Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton. Thanks for watching so far. Until next time.